ladies and germs. It's 6-ish o'clock on Monday Eve. Unfortunately, it's time to go right on back to work. Well, folks, fortunately and unfortunately, this is a week we hopefully can do some awesome stuff to help kids learn all kind of awesome things. Uh, so again, we're the Intelligent Hoodlums. This is our little strange hour and change of strangeness where we talk about strange things and challenge paradigms and all that kind of wonderful stuff.
Indeed.
Um, see what's
Our
popping.
friends on YouTube get to watch us tonight.
Oh,
I'm
indeed.
pretty
Oh,
excited
indeed.
for that.
Oh, indeed. So we're good to go there.
We're not
Um,
being silenced.
oh, indeed. I mean, the man was trying to keep us down, but we decided not to do that. So we beat the man this week. The man may get us next week, though. Don't talk too much. Talk too crazy. All right. That being the case, Webs, we're gonna call this episode-ish type thing. Stay hungry, stay distracted, and if you Google the word distraction, especially as it pertains to education, you get a bunch of negative things, right? Hey, you don't want people to be distracted, etc. But distractions can be good, and we're gonna kind of talk a little bit about that this evening. Webs, what up?
I'm going to say this is an episode not just for teachers for strategies with their kids, but also for people in general. This is a more broad appeal episode, if you will.
Indeed. So, staying hungry. You talk about one of the key distractions in life. Your stomach starts rumbling and talking to you. You have very, very difficult time focusing on anything because you get hungry, then you get hangry, and if you don't have anything close, then you get irritated. And I'm definitely not listening to you after that. So, um, dealing with distraction than ignoring distractions might be a strategy to help us reach, especially given the fact that right now kids are in their homes by and large, or in places that are with other kids. They're going to be like facing distractions all the time. So how do we mitigate those situations and scenarios?
Aren't we all? And in addition, I'd like to throw a little tidbit out there. I was doing research for a blog post back when I was working at ThoughtWorks about bias in criminal justice, the artificial intelligence in criminal justice. And did you know that if your case goes before a judge just before lunchtime, you have a higher possibility of getting a harsher sentence?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you better hope for an after lunchtime sentencing.
Well, When in the book When by Daniel Pink, When, talks a lot about time and how time is connected to a lot of things that either go right or go wrong in our society. So, again, shout out to Dan Pink. Got an opportunity to meet that dude 3 summers ago, 2 summers ago, back when everything was free and open in Orlando. Really cool guy, lives in my hometown. Appreciate all of his books are pretty good. So much love, much love, much love. And as we usually kind of shout ourselves out, the Intelligent Hoodlums, www.theintelligenthoodlums.com, at Trust the Hoodlum on the Twitters, Web's quick introduction.
Hi, I'm Webbs. I'm a software developer. I was a classroom teacher for 9 years. I was also a digital learning coach. I wrote curriculum for a while. I was also a curriculum developer on the corporate side of things as a fun little fact. And that's me.
Facts. Mike Blank, I keep it real in the streets.
Give me one more thing about you. You always say you keep it real in the streets, but if someone's brand new to our little program here, they don't know who you are or what you do.
I teach some technology stuff. I pretend to teach technology. I'll say that. I pretend to teach technology stuff. Been doing that for 17 years. We do interesting things. I take naps, which I'm going to talk about tonight as well. The art of taking naps to be distracted, to stop being distracted. But with there. As we do with every episode, we start with an Ask the Software Developer question. And tonight's question, Webs, is what happens when you get stuck at work?
Yeah. This is like an eternal challenge for most, if not all, software developers. Inevitably, we're working on a program, right? We end up encountering an issue where we're trying to get something to work right, and it's not quite working the way we'd expect. And so we try it one way, it doesn't work. Try it a different way, it doesn't work. We're like pounding our head against the wall, And the best thing to do in those moments is to walk away. And I would love to take a poll if there is a larger audience of software developers listening to see how many people actually walk away, because I bet you it's pretty close to zero. Like, we will continue to beat our head into a wall until our tummies start rumbling and we're like, or we have to go to the bathroom and we're forced to get up and walk away. Which is funny because we will also all tell you that the best thing to do in that situation is to get up and walk away. Like, go distract your brain, go do something else, because once you stop thinking about a problem, and I believe there's research on this too. I want to say I read it recently in a book somewhere. Like, once you stop thinking about a problem, that is when your answer will come. It's like if you're looking for something, if you stop looking for it, or you're trying to remember a word, if you stop thinking about it, it gives your brain an opportunity to, like, go wandering through the closets of your mind to find the information that you need. So, or going to sleep. So sometimes I would shut my computer, go to sleep, and literally dream of the answer. Sometimes it would just be like when I looked at it with fresh eyes the next time, it would jump out at me what the answer is.
Mm.
So the best solution for being stuck a lot of the time is to stop thinking about it and walk away, which unfortunately we're terrible at doing as people. I think we will continue to hit our head against a desk. I don't know why. So if you see someone else doing it, be like, hey, should go take a walk or paint a picture or read a different book or something else, literally anything else.
So as you were explaining that, I started thinking about our local school board and some of the questions that they were garnering in terms of teach not wanting teachers to stay at home because they wouldn't do their jobs, right? So I think part of the getting up and doing something else is this perception that you're not actually working, right? So
Oh yeah, that's deep. Like, I feel like that's a deep cultural thing in the United States specifically. I don't know about other countries, but I can definitely speak specifically for the United States. There is we have this horribly ingrained perception that if you're not at your desk, then you're not working. If you're not, someone can't observe you with their big brother eye, then you clearly aren't working. And that's just not the case, and we know that there's evidence for that.
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, um, that's been the most interesting part of um, the hustle for me has been that perception of seeing that I don't go into the schooling. I don't go to. I do all my work from here, just like we're doing the show. And I think there was a distrust that individuals were cheating, right?
Mhm.
Um, and not doing things like that. But I also kind of think the interesting thing about what you said, and like I kind of mentioned at the beginning, the naps. I love naps. I take multiple naps every day. Uh, And sleep is this great purifier of your brain, gets rid of toxins. It allows you to be at peace. If anyone is a bad anime fan, this is a horrible anime. Not horrible as in this inappropriate. It's horrible. Like the story is kind of stupid. Baki on Netflix. So the last season of Baki, they had Muhammad Ali Jr. is one of the fighters on Baki. It's a hilarious anime in terms of like not very good, but there was a defense that this guy's 156 years old and he's fighting this tournament, and he realized that strength wasn't physical strength. And this kind of when we're talking, this is the first thing that comes to my mind. And he was like, he allowed himself to get like look like he's frail and weak and stuff, and he concentrated on understanding fighting instead of fighting, right? And so he fights the strongest man in the world, and he's confusing the guy. He relaxes his whole body as a defense, right? So the guy is like, beating him up and stuff like that, and he's just like nothing is hitting him at all or anything like that. And it's really interesting that kind of in the vein of where you were going. This is a guy when you're relaxed, when you're not seized up in stress, you see connections between things a lot easier, rather than I've got to get this thing done. This deadline is 15 minutes from now. You're stopping your creativity rather than giving it an opportunity for outside entities to kind of build and show you some different things. So definitely there. Webs.
Also, speaking of being stuck, so my current team that I work with during the day, first of all, shout out because they're amazing. They're wonderful people. We really aim to put forth and practice the things that we know are good practices as far as work goes, and really try to buck the traditional American like style of working. So we'll communicate, hey, I need to go take the dog for a walk because I need a break. Hey, I need to step out for an appointment. I'm going to be, in and out for the next couple hours because I'm helping my wife's mother with a thing. Like, there is no, oh, I have to take a sick days, or oh, I have to lie about what I'm doing so that I don't put myself in some weird place as far as using my sick days. Like, there's none of that. We're just very transparent and honest with each other about what we need and whatever. So this past weekend, like a week ago from this weekend, we had to work with it, where we chose to work the weekend. I'm not gonna say we had to. We chose to work the weekend because we knew a deadline was coming up. We wanted to make sure we met that deadline, and we were okay with, a short-term extra push. So we worked over the weekend. Then Tuesday comes around. We're in this meeting, we're having a conversation about trying to make a decision about something, and we're spinning our wheels. And we're seeing that we're spinning our wheels. And I said, I think we're seeing the downside to working over the weekend, because we're not a team that spins our wheels. Like, we're pretty good at making decisions. We get the information we need, we make a decision, we move on. And this was just like 20 minutes of us talking in circles. It was really wild. And I said, I think we're seeing the fallout of working over the weekend. We didn't stop to take a break. We didn't have those recovery days. And I think this is evidence of that, because we're not able to make this decision right now. We're just talking in circles. So, one more way that you can kind of be stuck is you're exhausted. You don't quite realize you're exhausted, and you end up spinning your wheels and kind of getting stuck in the mud and wasting your time because you don't have the capacity to, you don't have the capacity to make those decisions or to do what you need to do to keep moving forward. And I think that's where taking a break, taking a nap, rest in general. There was a really good book I read last winter called Rest, that talks about, like, these are all the reasons that rest is important. And I think kind of those two ideas go together. This idea of like going down rabbit holes, taking a break, resting, so that you can be your best self and bring your best self to whatever work you're doing.
Facts, facts, facts. So, given that scenario, the next thing that we're going to kind of spend a little bit of time, rabbit holes are slides. So if you think slides outside on your playground, when I was a kid, kids fought to get on the slide first and go down and stuff. Very, very, very fun. You play games, you go up the slide backwards, you do all kind of dangerous, stupid little kid stuff that could break your legs and your arms and stuff, but it's fun. You're not thinking about the results. You're just interested in enjoying yourself. And so, very often, students are not given opportunities to go down rabbit holes, to think depth rather than breadth, right? So, we are still in a coverage culture in schools, right? I'm going to cover all these standards, I'm going to cover the material, but I don't want the kids to actually become an expert in any pieces of the nuance, excuse me, of that deal. And when you start looking at college and career readiness, right, you have people who are doctors, but they have specializations, right? I'm a plastic surgeon. I'm an ear, nose, and throat doctor. I'm a podiatrist. Whatever it is, I'm still a doctor, but I have this very, very deep layer of expertise. And we don't let kids get expertise. We want kids to have this visceral level of things. So, in your experience, what are some ways that you help kids go down rabbit holes productively?
I really liked, I know I've talked about this before. Uh, Sugita Mitra, I think it was Sugita Mitra, did a really good TED talk about I think it's called student organized learning groups. I can't remember if that was his term or my term for that. But anyway, if I'm gonna look it up real quick because I don't want to say his name wrong. Sugata Mitra, not Sugita Mitra. My bad. Sugata Mitra did a really good. It was all about building a school in the cloud, and which is kind of extra funny right now. But he did this whole experiment with like putting a computer in the wall in India, I think it was. And one of the takeaways from that was these certain student organized learning groups. Basically, students brainstorm a list of questions, they pick a question, they do research on it. And I would encourage my students to go back and revisit that question and research it deeper, research it more, find new questions that came out of that to go to go more deeply into whatever that particular topic was. Because it allowed them, it was it was, as you say, fart in a bottle, where like there were these guidelines, they had to answer this one question for that cycle of question asking and presenting. However, it allowed them to get some depth into what they were learning about. And then as more questions came off of that topic, like I remember I had a group that wondered how makeup gets its colors, or so how come lipstick is red or something along those lines. And so they did research about where the different colors come from and the different pigments, and they learned that like some pigment comes from this bug, like you crush up this bug and that's what gives it its color. And so then they wanted to research more about that bug. So on their next cycle, they researched more about that bug and learned more about it and got a little deeper. And so I think that's one of the ways that I would use in the classroom for students to get that depth on a specific topic.
Well, I think part of the there's a reason why the book is called The Art First and then the Science of Teaching, right? So there is everybody has to be kind of quasi Picasso, right? And there's a beautiful amorphousness to creativity that allows you to encourage it but not define it, right? So projects and ideas that allow students to plug themselves in where they like, I really dig. So even if it wasn't something like that, if it was like, yo, read any book that you want, don't care what book you're reading, fine. Um, but I want you to also think of a superhero, any superhero that you want. Hey, Green Lantern, She-Ra, whoever. Great. You got to introduce this book to your comic book hero. Now, again, you chose the book, you chose the hero. I had nothing to do with it. You're still doing the deep reading and all that kind of crap that you want to do, all the stuff the standard's asking me to do. But I have this free reign where I can go any direction that I want as long as I include the book in the hero. Great. I can make a podcast. I can make a video interview. I could write a paragraph. It opens it up right to this place where I can go down all these many avenues rather than saying, you will write a book report, and your book report will have 5 paragraphs, and your 5 paragraphs will. No one wants to do that crap, fam. No one gets paid to do that. Like, in the grand scheme of things, even if you're talking about big time journalists, do their is their writing to a certain journalistic standard and grammatical standard and all that kind of wonderful stuff? Excellent. But if it's boring, do I want to read that crap? Nah.
I think too that taking the book report specifically as an example, right? I think that the tendency for some teachers is, oh, I have to pick the book, I have to write the questions, I have to do this, I have to do that. And I wonder how much of that comes from a place of, if I'm not doing all these things, I don't deserve to get paid what I get paid, because then I'm not doing the work. And I actually think that, trying to have less, I don't want to say less specificity, but having it be less specific actually requires a little bit more skill as an educator, as a pedagogue, because you have to know how to guide them. You have to know how to give them the bottle in which to fart. um
I mean,
you have to know how much is too much. It's the, like you said, it's the art part of teaching, is knowing what that guideline is, so that they're not totally lost, but so that it can be a more engaging activity than, hey, I've already prescribed exactly everything you have to do, here, go do this assignment.
part of it to me is like, as a teacher, you should do every assignment you ask your kids to do before they do it. So here's Mr. Lang's example of X. All right, cool. See what I did? I did this. You can copy Mr. Lang's thing. You can do what I did, or you can think of some other stuff. All right, cool. Mr. Lang, you use, what programs did you use for that? I use this and that and that. Are those free? Yep, you're all available for them. There's tutorials already shot on them. Great, cool. If I don't want to think at all, if I just want to do exactly what Mr. Lang did, there it is. If I want to go and use some different tool, I want to make my own Roblox game or my own Minecraft level or whatever, that leaves that open as well. But I would also say that any teacher who is, this is 17 years for me, so from 17 years on back, Harry Wong was like required reading, right? And Harry Wong was always like, after November, you should be chilling. So it's not like this is not a new philosophy, right? It was, you should have your roles, responsibilities, and all of your stuff in this like machine level precision. Where after November, it's straight chilling. Your class can run without you being there. So this is not like new thoughts. And again, this is 17 years. So that means if you've been teaching longer than 17 years, you know exactly who Harry Wong was. You got that first day of school book, that big thick book. They hand you a copy of it, and you're ready
Pretty
to
sure I
cover
have 2 copies of that book.
You feel me? So at this point, like, this is not like different teachers. This is like, how do I take Harry Wong and apply it to the technical age here, where I don't want to be walking you through everything. I want to set up some procedures and routines so that you can be successful without teacher.
I wonder too if that's so I've heard this a lot. Like this feels like the first year of school. I think even in our newsletter today, the video that went with it was like, this is like the my first year of teaching. I think part of that comes from you can set up routines when you know what those routines should be. And I wonder how many teachers are staying just a half step ahead of their students with regard to learning the technology. And therefore, it's hard to set up routines when you are just learning the technology. And so I think even the strongest naysayers who are really like hating this distance learning thing, I think if they were to be able to do it again next year, I think that, or even just reboot after the winter holiday, right? That's something that I did. Like, I remember I had a mentor teacher my second year of teaching. She told me, you can restart whenever you want. You can restart as many times as you want. It's totally up to you. If you ever feel things are starting to go off the rails, just pretend like it's the first day of school all over again. That was like a mind-blowing thing to me. I don't know why I had never thought of that in the year of teaching that I had before, but that was like freeing to hear somebody say that. So that's what I started doing. The minute things started to go off the rails, we just start the first day of school all over again. And so you can reboot whenever you want. Like you don't have to wait. It's like a New Year's resolution. You don't have to wait for January. You can start now. You can start on Monday. Hey, I have a better way of doing this.
Fact.
Do mini experiments. We've talked about that. Do experiments, see how they go for a couple weeks. If they don't work, change stuff.
And adopt the mantra that failure is always an option. Like that's so. I had a old. I've got 2 baseball caps that say failure is an option on.
Perfection is overrated.
But I had an AP stop me in the hallway and was like, "That's not true," and I was like, "That's why you're not successful, fam. Just keep it on it." If you don't think that losing and learning is an option, you're gonna have like very difficult times being successful in anything, right? So when it comes down to it, it's not this doesn't work, and I'm gonna pretend that it does. I'm gonna pretend that it does, and we're gonna keep moving because that's stupid. It's this doesn't work. Let's fix it. Let's change it. Let's do some other stuff.
You just made me think of another software developer thing. So software development is one of the only jobs I can think of where when your problem turns into a different problem, you're excited. So like if you're working through things, like if you get this error and you're like, you get the same error, finally you make a change and you get a different error, you're like, yes, different error, success.
Exactly.
So failure
Exactly.
is often, it's like baseball. I see we have a comment on
Yeah,
Facebook.
so I just see, that's absolutely positively true, Sealand. Absolutely positively true. So there's a scenario that,
What does it say for people who aren't on Facebook?
oh, okay. So I'm finding the ability to be flexible with the kids. Someone that's spoon fed, others are ready to run. As a parent watches my class and totally see what's happening, I'm actually just going to leave or add this to our cast there. All right. Changing up every week. That's kind of the hustle, right? So there's a scenario in which, like, if it doesn't work, and I have literally changed my process by grade level, right? First it was, hey, this is what's good with everybody. Then their teacher is saying this, and this is saying this, and this is cool. I have to stop. I'm going to give it to these kids this way because this seems to be the best way. I'm gonna give it to these kids a different way, and these kids a different way. rather than saying, you know what, you're going to do it the way that I want you to do it, and if people don't get it, I'm going to fail all of you. Like that's kind of a a cop out type scenario. So when it comes down to it, being flexible enough to say, this doesn't work, I need to change it so that we can be successful, so that I can work less. So again, working hard is not a badge of anything, in my opinion. I work hard, so I work hard at some time so I can work less hard later on. And like during the school week, I am basically chilling, and I'm just gonna keep it all the way 100. I work hard over the weekends. Like I'll be up tonight until God knows how long, cutting up videos, getting everything straight, so that when we have those in-person conversations, it's 10 minutes of instruction. It's 10 minutes of this is what you need to do. Great, handle your business. God bless you. I'll see you guys next week. Rather than I am trying to teach someone a very complex or a very cognitively demanding lesson in 50 minutes while kid is trying to uh, pretend that their baby sister isn't crying, hope that their mom's going to bring them a snack, the internet is going to fritz, all these other things that I can't control. If it's already recorded for you, kid knows if my internet goes out, great, I know where my assignment is. Mr. Lang already puts it in the same place every week. It's there. I can handle my business rather than having a situation in which you're competing with life. And I think that's another one of those situations which is a problem.
I've said it once and I will say it again, and I will say it until I am blue in the face. We are in a pandemic. And I feel like people forget that. We're in a pandemic. People are stressed out. Like you said, life happens. We can't stop life from happening. People are trying to work in environments where there are dogs who need pets and who need to be let out. And I had a colleague who lives in Portland. I have a colleague who lives in Portland. He's trying to work while he also has go bags in the car and has to take all of his animals and pack them up and possibly like take off at any moment. Like this is 21st century college and career readiness right here. Like dealing with the things that are around you, communicating, oh, I have to step away for a minute because of a thing. Like that's a normal thing. So like why are we trying to take this education model that is oldie timey and has needed to be brought up to date for like well over 30 years now, and we're trying to cram it into the place where it doesn't belong?
Yep. But at the same time, it's like, look, fam, that's what I want. Um, I think there's a real legs to the idea that teachers feel that again, if they're not doing as much as they were doing previously, then somehow I'm not worthy of my paycheck, or I'm not teaching, or whatever it is, which I would like push back on that very heavily in terms of I think we always did too much. Like even face to face, you were doing way too much.
Yep, yep,
Um,
yep.
the face to face times I have attempted to do, and I think that some other teachers in that I'm speaking to are kind of coming to this philosophy. Your face to face time, small, impactful, and personal, right? I don't want to take your time dealing with a bunch of heavy stuff. Hey, John, how are you? Oh, Mr. Lang, my dog, had puppies over the weekend. Great. I'm getting to know you, relationship building, all that kind of wonderful stuff, but not let's do 50 math problems. So let me hit you with this stuff that's gonna, if you don't get it in this 50 minutes, suddenly we have problems. So I think that taking some time to use that time strategically to be personal, especially when you get to secondary school where those kids are older, they should be a little bit more independent. Now, kindergarten, first grade, I spend extra time with those students, absolutely positively. Those are students who are not able to regulate themselves as well as somebody who's 6 through 12. But once we start getting to third grade, man, usually my conversations we're laughing and joking about something that was on television. Some kid talks about Roblox, and we start exchanging the Roblox names and stuff like that during the deal. Here's where your assignment is. Let me go give you a brief overview of what you need to do this week. Boom, 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 boom. All right. If you're good to go, you can leave the meeting. I'll catch you next week. If you're not good to go, stay here. We'd ask questions. And then when their questions are satisfied, those kids can bounce. But I think a lot of it is as teachers being prepared beforehand, doing the grinding beforehand, get the videos cut, get everything streamlined and whatnot. So then when you're doing the week, those 5 days, you can kind of be relaxing a little bit. And then the distractions come, they're positive. because I think when we to kind of move back to where we're going with this episode, Webs, um, building in distractions helps kids be creative. And when you don't give them an opportunity to be distracted, they don't see how systems interact and collide with one another in order to help them perceive something that perhaps they already knew. And I think that's a lot of being able to create similes and metaphors between things that I understand fully or have a great understanding of. And this new information that I have, that's when we're talking about those higher level thinking skills where I'm saying, you know what, Mr. Lang, that's just like in Roblox when you do Exactamundo, kid. That is it. That's just like on that TV show when so and so did XYZ. Exactamundo. That's what it is, kid.
Going back to our old friends Paul and Elder and how to read a paragraph, one of the best or the highest levels of reasoning or the way to demonstrate that you really understand something is similes and metaphors. Being able to create a metaphor of whatever it was that you read, relate it to other things, connect those schemas and that background knowledge. That's what learning is. That's the whole purpose of learning.
Facts. And so, again, if you start Googling distractions, you're going to see a bunch of negative stuff. Hey, you don't want to be distracted. You're wasting time, et cetera, et cetera. But this is a oldie but goodie article. This is the article I found back when it was published in 2014 because I think people get shamed a lot of time into distractions and why distractions are bad. But there are very, very important reasons why you should be letting your kids get distracted. And first, distractions and creativity. We kind of already like hemmed in on that. Highly creative people explore the universe and allow their attention to be grabbed by everything. When you start talking about creative people, you get inspiration from the trees, from nature, from video games, from a book you're reading, from a girl's face, from a boy's face, from your crooked tooth, from all these different things. You're paying attention to a lot of things. You're getting distracted because you're taking these different systems and putting them into one place. And think about how many times you've been inspired to create a lesson because you passed a billboard or you were watching a movie and someone said something, or all these different things. So giving them an opportunity to learn your material by not learning your material, by being distracted, by seeing things. Again, this is why I'm such in Roblox and Minecraft. That's the jams right now with the kids. Cool. The first 10 minutes, I purposely start late every class period. I start 5 minutes late. There's a timer. If you've not seen our sessions, our conversations before, it's another tool we're going to look at in a second. The Pomo Focus app, I reflect that on there. I give them 10 minutes. They can go and I tell them in the task, yo, go play Roblox. Like literally go find a game in Roblox and play. You can play with a friend of yours or whatever. Don't really care. I'm trying to spark that little piece of creativity that might bring them to a place where they look at the assignment they're going to have a little differently. And I don't know. I think that's really important that you also give them when you have that freedom, that relaxation, that I'm not thinking about a problem. Like Webb's kind of mentioned at the top of the show, you oftentimes find a solution to a problem because it hits you in the back of your head like a snowball and says, "Hey, this is the answer you've been looking for." Webb's.
Also, I think that we've talked about this before too. A stressed out brain can't learn, and we're talking about levels of stress that many kids may not have experienced before. There's a lot of uncertainty, like there's a lot going on right now, and so giving them that opportunity to kind of let go for a little bit and just be a kid and hang out with their friends like they would at school, giving them that opportunity may actually do a better job of priming them for learning, because you've given their brain an opportunity to simmer in that joy and that happiness and that relaxation before you start into a lesson.
So the $50 word for what Webb's was talking about is opportunistic assimilation. So if you want to use that in your blog post or whatever, you can do that. And that's that aha. We always talk about the aha moments in school, in our classrooms. Opportunistic assimilation is something in the environment will trigger an idea that solves a problem that's been simmering in the back of your mind. So no opportunistic assimilation. If I keep getting bombarded with task after task after task after task after task after task, I don't get an opportunity to sit back and just veg out and look at that poster and say, I wonder what the Green Lantern would do in this situation. I wonder if I play Mortal Kombat for 15, 20 minutes. If there's some button combination, it's suddenly going to unlock this idea in my head. So if you, one of the things that I've been, there've been a number of my teacher friends who I'm stressed. Cut the amount of work you're giving the students in by half. Just cut it in half and say, I'm not going to do all this stuff. You're not going to cover it all anyway. You're not going to cover it all in any profound way in the first place. Cut the crap so they're not stressed out and you're not stressed out either. And you're going to hopefully find, this is what I've found with and I mentioned this on Thursday, my kids have one project a month now. They have 30 days to get that one project done. If you get it done in a week, great. If you get it done in 2 days, great. You're good to go. There's less stress on you. There's less stress on me. You got plenty of time, and we're going to kind of look at them with the one of the things that we have like glossed over is time management strategies with students, right? We also have not taught these kids how to manage their time effectively enough to get the 75 things you want them to get done in 3 hours done in a way that's going to be not crap. So, distractions, delivering solution. Anything to add to that, Webbs?
No, I'm good.
All right. The other thing is, if you read this article, Webbs, did you throw that in the chat? I'm assuming you did. If you didn't,
I did.
Excellent.
Yep.
That article is worth reading. So, even when you're distracted, the decision-making parts of your brain are still active. So even if I'm not paying attention to the questions you're having, my brain is still contemplating what Miss Jones has asked me to do. Science. So we're not just like blowing off the top of our head with, oh my God, this is just I am still thinking about your problem, even if I'm playing Mortal Kombat. All right, I'm still thinking about my brain because of its beauty and the complexity of your brain is still dealing with that. So giving your kids building in breaks during the school day that are not academic. Go play Roblox. Go take a walk. Go do a dance. Go give your grown-up a high five. Go pet your dog. Whatever. I'm still going to be contemplating what you're talking about. And that... Go ahead, Webbs.
Best practices for working on a computer is every 20 minutes you should look at, every 20 minutes you should stand up and look at something 20 feet away for at least 20 seconds. 20, yeah. Because it's supposed to like make sure that you're not spending too much time just staring at the computer screen.
Absolute facts. And lastly, that paragraph. Yo, you are happy when you're distracted. So, tons of stuff on social media, tons of stuff on Twitter and Facebook. Oh, my kids won't do their work. They won't do X, Y, Z. Part of the scenario is saying more distractions, more opportunities to make music or to write a song or to play a game or to whatever. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to come to your situation, Mr. Lang, with this happy disposition that perhaps now I'm going to be able to see the connections between things a lot easier. But if I don't have the opportunity to be distracted, I don't have the opportunity to go and look at things that aren't academic, then suddenly, I'm coming to sit in your class, and you're calling the dean on me from my house, talking about, there's XYZ going on in your crib. Go ahead, Webbs.
Interesting. So I was just thinking about something I was reading. I feel like this is a perfect example of what we're talking about. So I was reading about this is a couple weeks ago. I was reading about what happens when people get too much constructive feedback and it starts to cause like negative side effects. So for example, there are 4 major like kind of phases it talks about. Paralysis. So someone experiencing feedback fatigue, that's what they called it. Someone experiencing feedback fatigue will feel paralyzed. They'll second guess everything that they do, and they start to look over their shoulder for their boss's approval. So they start to feel very insecure. And I think we see this with students as well. Emotional depletion is the next one. A feeling of learned helplessness will settle in after a series of negative feedback sessions. So all a kid is hearing is negative feedback. You're not good enough. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. Why aren't you on task? Blah, blah, blah. The receiver will not have the required resilience to care enough to change. So they feel like nothing they do will be good enough, which then leads to an immunity to positive feedback. So then no matter what you tell them that's positive, they won't believe it. They'll think that it's just lies, and the feedback fatigue gets worse. And then the last phase is disengagement. So if you feel like you're completely hopelessly incompetent, then you eventually hit a point where you just like give up. You completely disengage. It's like the opposite of Schlechter's levels of engagement.
But that's really dope. The last thing you just said, because like distractions give you an opportunity to feel like an expert too, right? I'm going to be distracted by things that generally I know how to do already. So I'm going to play a game that I'm good at. I'm going to walk my dog because I can do it. I'm going to give my grown up a high five. It gives me that instant achievement. So when I come back again, my brain is wired. That's really dope. Really, really dope. The other thing is when I taught at, I was teaching a men mentoring men class at middle school years ago. And we had a really cool speaker come, and the gentleman was a crime scene investigator. All right. And he was talking about the fact that he has ADHD. And he said gives him this superpower when he's a crime scene investigator because he pays attention to everything. And what he thought was a like a deficit when he was in school, not being able to pay attention, he realized it's this hyper ability to pay attention to every little thing. His mind was going all over the place, so he's able to do his job at a very very high level. And I think that's another thing to kind of to play into where, um, for example, I very rarely on meetings and stuff like that do I pay attention to the camera at all. I listen to what everybody's saying. I'm on my iPad playing Mario, Dr. Mario, or whatever it is, but I'm just taking the information through, contemplating in my mind, and say, okay, cool, this is how I do X, Y, and Z. Now, if you look at me viscerally, you're saying, okay, look, that dude's not even paying attention, but I am. I'm sitting in my own space at my own time, pacing myself and understanding what you're talking about. I think that's another thing that kids are getting in trouble with now is the whole put your camera on culture, right? I want to be able to
Oh
look
my
at you in the
gosh.
face, right? Because I don't trust
Stop.
you. You could be doing other stuff, right? The other thing is I had there was a rant that the teacher had on Facebook in one of the groups I'm part of, and she was like, "Well, the kid wasn't looking at me on the camera," and like she goes in on this long. And I'm like, "Dude, for real? Like, how do you know what that kid was doing, or what he wasn't doing?" Or I'm assuming it was a he because he just said the student. Everyone is processing this stuff at a different level and a level that's comfortable to them. And I think until you give an opportunity for a student to prove that they're not doing what you're asking them to do, you got to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, right? Hey, this is and also there is a burden on the instructor to ensure that there's a reason why I want to be involved, right? So not just he didn't do his 50 math problems. Well, who wants to do 50 math problems, fam? I'm not coming to the show to do 50 math problems. And so I think that it's also is a pedagogical shift where there's got to be high interest in a place where kids can be creative, and even if it's not always creative all the time, but something where I know I'm going to have an opportunity at some point during the day to build something, to make something, to demonstrate to you that I've got a brain, rather than just saying, okay, I'm going to sit in, again, do a 50 math problems every other hour or whatever it is.
I think I've tweeted this a couple weeks ago. I think we have to reckon with the fact that before students were hostages, and the only reason, like, you may have thought that they were engaged, but now they can physically get up and walk away. Like, they are not hostages. You have to convince them, you have to persuade them, use your best persuasive powers to want to come to school every day. It's no longer a case of like, oh, I'm going to show up because I have to because my mom needs you to babysit me. Like, I mean, they were still volunteers before, but they are definitely obviously volunteers now.
All right, so in terms of like, yo, man, we got things popping off. Well, um,
I'd argue too, teachers need to embrace some of this stuff for themselves.
X.
Like, going back to what you were saying about what people look like during a meeting, a lot of times I'll have my iPad and I'll be taking notes. So this is what I'll look like if you see me from the camera. Like, you'll probably just see me looking down. You may think, oh, she's on her phone, she's not paying attention, whatever. But a lot of times I'm doing sketch notes of whatever it is we're talking about. One, to help me stay engaged, because for me, I need some place that's active where I'm doing a thing. Otherwise, I'll totally space out and get distracted,
X.
not in a good way. And I feel like teachers could use this too. Like, take an opportunity to take a break, get up and walk away. It is okay. You don't have to stay chained to your computer screen. Like, use the Poma Focus for yourself. Okay, so you're gonna do an hour of work and then take a 10-minute break. Like, be deliberate about deliberate. You want to talk self-care? We're out here like, oh, let's talk self-care. Let's talk self-care. Self-care means setting boundaries. That's
Facts,
what self-care is.
facts, facts,
So you
facts.
set your boundaries of, I am going to take a break now. I am going to take my lunch now. Like, set those boundaries.
But I think also like but it's an American culture thing as well, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
So I mean, again, I taught in Taiwan. Most life changing experience of my pedagogically education teaching experience of my life. Um, One of the things that I was never in Taiwan, never. I wasn't stressed out with my job. I did what I needed to do. I was my most creative because in our school day, for every hour of instruction was 15 minutes of recess for the kids. We went to school for an hour. Outside, I taught the kids how to play American football. We playing basketball, we're running around. You eat lunch, and everyone takes a nap for 45 minutes. School shuts down, right? So it's an opportunity for you to go and say, I'm going to chill right now. I'm going to put my head down on this pillow. I'm going to veg out for a second, reflect on my day. It was a purposeful pause button. And in our schools, we don't have a pause button. It's go, 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 go. And at the end, I'm frustrated, right? So building in pause buttons. Like one of the things I always do during my prep periods is I'll work for 10, 15 minutes and I'm taking a nap, fam. I'm taking me a 20-minute nappuccino. So if you're not a nappuccino person, it's a nap guide from Daniel Pink. Um, Again, I'm a big nap fan. They saved my life on multiple occasions. He has a guide for you to deal with it. You drink as much coffee as you can stand and go to sleep for 27 minutes, 26, 27 minutes. It takes that about that much time for the caffeine to hit your bloodstream. And once you wake up, suddenly the world is all a new place for you. It's a wonderful, wonderful strategy to get with, especially if you're a coffee drinker. But it is a perfect, perfect scenario for you to say, I've got 50 minutes to do what I need to do. Let me take 10 minutes and contemplate my problem, drink my coffee, and I'm going to go take a nap. And I'm going to hit my Palmer Focus timer or my phone or whatever. I'm going to take a nap, wake up, and then suddenly things make sense. Rather than let me go and push myself through a wall that I'm not prepared to deal with. I do it on every day every day, every day at some point. Webs.
Shout out to Casey who says on YouTube, exactly. We have an opportunity to change the narrative, but we have to be willing to change.
Facts. Facts, facts, facts. Definitely, Casey. And that's I mean, not only willing to change, but willing to understand that the hard work narrative in quotation marks is a wrong one, right? There's a very a dope quote by one of my favorite rappers that says, "Genius is being able to build an empire with someone else's hands." Right. So, in the grand scheme of things, again, and we shout out Schlechte a lot on this program. Schlechte, who should be doing the work? Your kids should be doing the work. You should be setting up experiences for those students to understand and learn from the work that they're doing. Not, I'm going to stay up until 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning every morning trying to go and, build experiences that I'm going to have to explain to this kid in this hour-long session. Now I'm doing double the work, right? I'm doing all this work and I'm still on the call with the kid for an hour. That doesn't even make sense. So the grand scheme of things, looking at the machinery of the thing and saying, how do I create this efficient machine that's going to stop me from having to stay up till 3, 4, 5 in the morning every week, every night, every day, but allows my students to express themselves creatively enough that they want to do my work and that they get the results that I'm looking for. Now, in the grand scheme of things, I kind of like the idea of the project manager as teacher rather than this heavy lifting person that has to be master of all things. And Webs, kind of explain what your project manager does on your day job.
So the role of a project manager is basically to like move blockers out of your way, to shield the team from any kind of like client side, not any kind of client side conversation, but if there's communication that needs to be done that isn't specifically technical, like that's the kind of thing a project manager will do. Basically, removing blockers and then shielding from any negative distractions. Those are the two biggest roles of the project manager. Sometimes it's to help us work through like hey, we're trying to decide should we go this way or this way, and they might offer some input and give a little bit of guidance and ask some reflective questions. But for the most part, the project manager like that, and like they deal with technical things like budgets and stuff like that. But for the most part, their main roles are kind of like as a Yoda. They're like our little Yoda who will move things out of the way for us if we need that. Um, Ask us reflective questions to kind of help us make decisions and reflect on our processes. That's another thing, like coordinating retrospectives is one of the things that a project manager will do. Iteration planning meetings. Sometimes that's also the product owners. If any agile people are listening, that's also like something the product owner does, but in this case we're going to talk project manager. And they also will help us like figure out the narrow slices of work that we need to do and what the priority of those things should be.
Facts, facts, facts. And so again, we're talking about time and distractions. Pomodoro, Pomodoro, Pomodoro,
Have
Pomodoro.
we harped on this enough?
All right. Like literally, this tool is free. There's tons of different Pomodoro. There's tomato timers and all kind of stuff. Like Pomodoro means tomato. Um, but this one I like because if you look, I'm logged in. So this is actually going to go and track what I'm doing, all my breaks and everything, and kind of give me like a little report. So showing this to your students and saying, okay, cool. Mr. Lane wants you to work for 25 minutes, and you're going to get whatever you can get accomplished in the 25 minutes. After that, you're going to take a short break. Yo, 10-minute break, you're going to do what you need to do. I can also come down here and say, if you want to get like really funky, let's add a task. So the very first thing we're going to do, your math warm up, whatever. Great. How many Pomodoros is that going to last? It's going to last for one. I can add a note. I need to complete at least 5 problems. Great. Save. This is what time I'm going to finish. It's all European, so I'm going to finish at that time if I start right now. Great, fine, dandy. Hit the start button. It's going to start rocking and rolling with me. Stop it. Say I'm finished. It crosses it out for me. I already did our first thing. Go to the next task. All right. Cool. You can have kids rocking and rolling at their own pace here, and then say for every pomo that we finish, after the first one, you take a 10-minute break. If you finish 2 in a row, guess what? You get a long break, kid. You get 15 minutes, and you're gonna go and play Roblox with your buddy, or you're gonna take a walk, or you're gonna dance, or you're gonna do whatever. But a situation in which your kids become responsible for their own time management, and it's not a scenario. You're more of a project manager rather than I don't trust you for doing what you need to do. The other thing is, if your kids are working online, their device has a clock built into it. And I had to get on like my second through fifth graders like, yo, your Google Meet starts at 11 o'clock, fam. You're sitting staring at a device that has a timer on it, homies. We don't have to have a situation in which you have to go ask your grown up. It's 11 o'clock. We do what we need to do and we leave. Go ahead, Webbs.
My friend's kid used the Echo, oh no, never mind. Use the thing that I just mentioned to set timers and alarms so that she knew when to go back to class.
iPads, you can build in the alarm so you know exactly what time you're supposed to do things. Chromebooks, there are different places to do that as well. But it's just like really like give the kids some responsibility and they will rise to the occasion. If you baby the little kid, then you cannot be surprised with the outcomes. Go ahead, Webbs.
I just want to say, point anti kids need to learn to read an analog clock team.
Facts. Like
they're surrounded by digital clocks and machines that will tell them timers and alarms and all kinds of things.
So,
but what if the power goes out? Batteries.
Then we're doomed. Like literally, we're doomed. Like that's when the zombie apocalypse starts.
Not attending school if the power goes out.
You know, absolute facts. So the Pomo, if it's not this one, some other Pomodoro timer that you're showing kids how to use.
So my friend whose kid did that is Bree, and she just commented, set a timer for 11:27. She always sets it 3 minutes before she's supposed to be on.
She's
Brilliant!
got a strategy, right? Got a strategy.
And Bree, will you comment? Did you tell her to do that, or did she figure it out herself? And we'll just wait for the response, I guess.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's an adult strategy.
It is. It totally is, and it's a reasonable coping strategy. Like, I am fairly certain it probably comes a lot from, like, we tend to set timers that way, like, all the time. Like, my roommate and I rely on the Echo to do timers for us like nobody's business. So yeah, she figured it. She decided on that strategy on her own. It's just a
Absolute
way of
facts.
making sure that she is on time to things.
Absolute facts. I mean, I set my timers 2.5 minutes before I need them because I know it takes me that much time to get the crust out of my eyes when I wake up from a nap. I shake my head and I can run to my room and do what I need to do.
Also, like, I have a meeting at 5, now it's at 5:30 on Wednesday mornings. And so I set the alarm that I use is a window of time. So it'll start trying to see if I'm moving around like 30 minutes before my alarm's supposed to go off. But I set it so that the like latest it'll go off is 5 minutes before my meeting starts, because I don't do a camera for that because it's 5:30 in the morning. But I think what Bree is saying is super important for parents as well as teachers, maybe teachers that have kids. She is in a work conference call, and she said, "Hey, figure it out because I'm busy." So a little bit of struggle is what will manifest these abilities to cope with things. And if they get really frustrated, you can always pull them aside after, like, okay, well, you got really frustrated this time. Next time, what can we do so that you don't feel so frustrated? What's a strategy that we can use in order to prevent this from happening again? Take it as a learning opportunity.
It's
And she also said,
DJ Quick,
what?
man. DJ Quick. Balancing options, homie. Balancing options. My West Coast gangster rap fans. DJ Quick, balancing options. A situation where, again, this is something that if I was an instructor, I would ensure that my students had tools that would allow them to go and say, like, for example, I had some first graders on Friday decided they showed up to class 25 minutes late. I was like, you guys have to leave. But why, Mr. Lang? Because I'm not about to go rack over what I need to do. What would be the strategy for you to find out what we did today? Oh, it's in the Clever. Exactamundo. Goodbye. We'll see you later. The entire video is there. You missed the opportunity to have the one-on-one. We're not going to stop time. Like, if you have a meeting, college career readiness, if the meeting starts at 5:30 and you show up at 5:55, we don't go over what we just went for the previous 25 minutes, fam. That's on you. You need to figure out how you're going to get that information from us, because we were all on time and we did what we needed to do. So that's another thing to kind of role model to students, that you can show up when you want to show up. I'm not hating on that. Do what you need to do, but you need to have a strategy for, if I show up late, these are my 3 friends in the class that are going to give me their notes or let me know what was going on, or let me know if there's a change to how we do TPS reports now, or whatever it is. Shout outs to Office Space. It came on yesterday or Friday. No, it came on Friday night, actually. So shout out to Milton, even though you got us hemmed up with the YouTube police. It's all good. The other thing, if you want to go like superhero with your students, this is one of the things that I use, Hero Panel. And Hero Panel is really like, it's built-in distractions. It's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It's just heropanel.com. You can build your email. You can go and create habits that are built in to say, hey, read for 25 minutes now, or whatever. There is a soundboard, so there's just really like soothing sounds in there. Gives you an ability to get all your stuff, see your accomplishments there. And then you have an ability to have goals. So, hey, in 23 days, I'm going to Hawaii. In 5 days, it's going to be the weekend, whatever. This is really good to do with your Chromebooks. If you have students on Chromebooks, because it only works through Google Chrome. It does not work in Safari or anything else. I'm assuming it'll work I don't use Firefox, but I'm assuming it'll work in Firefox as well. But
he's fine.
It's a really, really cool tool to use to keep everything in one place, kind of just to keep yourself accountable, and to kind of show kids, yo, this is what it would look like to be a little bit more grown up with the way that you do things. I think it's another thing to kind of start to trust kids to be able to say, I'm going to make some decisions. I'm going to see how these things work. This is the strategy I'm going to use. Mr. Lang, that didn't work. Is there another tool, or can I Google a tool to find out that works for me or whatever, and get that, allow them to have strategies in place that get them to be successful, rather than you saying the biggest thing I hate teaching in person and teaching online is repeating myself. Despise it. It's one of the reasons that I record everything anyway. And students now know Mr. Lane about to repeat it. You missed that first 5 minutes, or and like I had a grown-ups pop on Mr. Lane. What did she miss? She can go right to the Clever and find the Clever fam. We're not going over that again because that's disrespectful of other people's time. Other people showed up to do what they need to do. Think about it like the movies. If you show up 15 minutes late for the movie, no one is sitting there saying, "Yo, this is what you just missed, fam. You got to deal with it where you came in." And I don't think that that's a unreasonable expectation just because that's how the world works. Like I don't know anything else. You give me a scenario, Webs, and where you can be late and it's something you get the same hustle as everybody else does.
I can't think of anything.
I don't know functionally where that happens. Television, it doesn't work. Movies, it doesn't work. I mean, I guess on demand is the only place where you can start over, right? And that if I have it someplace, you can go back and you can access that as many times as you want. But in terms of live content, there are no do-overs. There's no Groundhog Day scenario. You could relate, so hence you got to do what you need to do. And students over the last month have started to understand, okay, cool. If I'm late for Mr. Lane's class, I know where to get the information. I don't have to bust in here. I may want to bust in and say, hey, Mr. Lane, I'm late. I'm cool. I know where you put your stuff. I just want to say hello to everybody. But I am not about to go and redo 25 minutes of instruction or 15 minutes of instruction or whatever it is for any students. And that may be unduly harsh. I don't think so. But it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. Anything else, Webs?
I think that teachers too could benefit from embracing this a little bit. So if a student is late, if a student miffs on something or makes a mistake, whatever, just take that as an opportunity to say, hey, I get that you didn't get it. What's a strategy we could try next time so that this doesn't happen? So wasting energy on lecturing them or sending an email home or whatever, okay, you made a mistake. And maybe if it happens a couple times, then you say, you know what, this is becoming a recurring habit. That's probably not great. Like, I've had this conversation with my tech lead. Like, yeah, you can make a mistake once. Once you do it repeatedly, then it becomes like an indicator to me of more your personality and habits. So that becomes a different level of problem. But like, roll with it. Like, let go a little. Like, don't feel like you have to have this incredibly tight rein on every single detail. No wonder you're exhausted if that's how you're trying to get through your day. Like, things will happen, mistakes will happen, internet will crash, your Google Meet will lag. Like, it's fine. A lot of this would be saved if you just did an asynchronous, like Mike said earlier, you want to make sure that your time in person is short, personal, and what was the third thing?
So, but a personal, no, I can't even remember. But I mean,
Well, lucky for you, I tweeted it so I can go look because I thought it was very it
you
should
want
be
you want to have fun, man. Like
short, small, impactful, and personal.
I mean, when it comes down to the scenario, if you record your crap before it's due, then it also becomes a scenario in which, again, I've already taken care of my late friend, right? My late friend knows what my work is. I don't have to worry about that. If you're someone like myself, and, I am somebody who is not the most punctual person all the time. Yo, fam, here's where it is. Great. God bless you, Mr. Lane. I'll catch you next week or tomorrow, or whatever it is. So you have that scenario taken care of. I also am not stressed about, oh my goodness, my administrator's popping in the meeting. So what did here's the recording is there. All the students have all their stuff in there. I've kind of done this very professional. Here are the goals. This is the strategy we're going to use. This is what you need to create for me or whatever. All right, great. And I got observed last week. 12 minutes, fam. 12 minutes. And she was like, that's it? Yep, that be it, Holmes. You want to see what they need to do? Yeah, here it is. All laid out. Boom, 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 boom.
I feel like we've forgotten that the limit for in time time is supposed to be what, like 2 hours max for elementary school?
Hour and 30 minutes max.
I have seen so many elementary schools that are just in person the whole day, on camera the whole day. Like the guidelines are an hour and a half maximum, which are clearly not being enforced. Nobody seems to care about it. Like it seems like it's 6 hours straight through of just hanging out on Zoom. That's too much for me, and I'm an adult. By the way, your words work out to a very nice metaphor where you can remember it by thinking, take a sip. Small, impactful, and personal.
Indeed, we have to brand that.
We do.
But like, yeah, absolutely. Like generally, I am laughing with 12, 15 minutes. After that, hey, anybody got any questions? Numbers line, we good. I'll see y'all next week, fam. And we're done. I go and work on other stuff. I can create lessons for the next week or whatever. But it becomes a situation in which I'm more efficient now than I've ever been as an instructor, because I have more time on my hands now than I've ever had as an instructor. I can go back. I can go and, when they're doing their flip grids, go watch the flip grids, comment on the flip grids, boom, 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 done. And again, I have 846 students. Every kid at that school comes through my class. So going through and saying, cool, I'm on Mondays, I'm going to deal with this group of kids. I'm going to make sure that their stuff is all corrected, and I'm leaving comments on and stuff. But if you keep stuff very, very short, you keep your in-person stuff short, fam, you can get your grades done for most looking at comments and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you generally get those things the first 2 days, 3 days of the week, and not have to worry so much about, again, having to lesson plan, because I've already done that on the weekend. All my videos are recorded. Everything's done. If you're thinking big pieces, was counseling a younger teacher. Think in big pieces of time, not in small pieces of time. So this is the standard we need to deal for the week. Great. How do we deal with it for the week, not the day? How do I give this kid multiple opportunities to flex that? So if I was a classroom teacher, this is our math standard. I'm not going changing math standards every day. Nope. This is the math standard we dealing with fractions for the whole week, fam. And this is the thing you got to be able to demonstrate to me by Friday. And I'm going to give you little pieces of it the whole day. And by Friday, here's your assessment. Here's the project you need to do or whatever, rather than, I'm on the call for 6 hours because the kids have no idea what I'm talking about, because now I'm trying to spoon feed them stuff that I gave them distractions and creative struggle, that perhaps they would have come to those ideas, and teaching your kids how to email. Mr. Lang, I don't understand this. Here's the email template. This is what it looks like. Cool. Now, man, you can have this Google Meet because you're the one with the problem, right? Now we can go have this very clinical,
small, impactful, and personal.
Bam. All right. It's clinical now. It's surgical. I know exactly what your problem is, kid, because you emailed it to me. You gave me a screenshot. This is what's happening on my... Cool. Boom, boom. We handle this business 15, 20 minutes. Oh, that's how you do it? Exactly. Now I'm going back to drinking my coffee, and I'm about to take my nappuccino in a couple of minutes. Rather than have a scenario where I'm keeping everyone on this call for a question that one kid has. And teaching them all, hey, if I see a bunch of emails coming from that same thing, all right, cool. We're going to all have this Google Meet. If you want to get down, here's the Google Meet link that we're going to have. That's going to be about why you have to have like denominators in order to add your fractions. Great. This is a trend that I'm finding.
College and career readiness. So one of the things that happens during our stand-up sometimes is we start to go down rabbit holes in a bad way. And someone will stop us and go, should we save this for Tech Huddle? And then we'll do Tech Huddle later. If we're in Tech Huddle and two people are talking about one specific problem, we'll tell them, hey, can you take this offline? Because it doesn't really impact all of us. It just impacts the two of you. It's not considered anything rude. It's just, we're being respectful of the people's time that are in that meeting.
Facts. And I mean, that's the thing is, if we're trying to get kids to be college career ready, let's start treating them like we want them to be college career ready. These are tools that aren't going away. Like, these are parts of their life that they're going to have to master. And if they can master those things as earlier, again, this is why this is kind of a blessing. At no other point would these students be asked to create emails, be able to show up on time for remote meetings, for being able to create projects. And if we were face to face, these are skills that very few teachers would be asking students to actually flex. But because they are now here, so a teacher complained last week, oh, the kid put the entire email in the subject line. Okay, great. Why don't we show them how not to do that? What it looks like not to do that, rather than saying, oh, the kid don't send emails. let's show the kid how to send emails, and that's part of my hustle for this next rotation, where they're going to be sending emails to their homeroom teacher, explaining to them about information about themselves, their first little video, and all kinds of stuff like that in a template. Here's how I do what I need to do, Miss So and So. But if they're not forced to do those things, when are they going to do them? They're never going to do those things. So
Yep.
we're over time this week, Webs. As we usually are. Can we start at 6-ish? We end at 7-ish.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the ish kind of is, I'm going to say ish in the terms of time interval is 10 minutes.
Yeah, that seems fair.
Yeah, so that'll work. Thursday, Friday Eve, we have our next show. And then we're taking next Sunday off. If you are a person out there in internet land and you want some internet goodness in terms of a virtual conference on Saturday, Q Nevada is doing a virtual conference. There are going to be some Canvas sessions and all that kind of stuff. So if you're still looking for some Canvas tips and tricks, you can do those things there. But we'll be running that behind the scenes. We will not be presenting there. We'll be running that behind the scenes in conjunction with Q Nevada. It is something, because it's on the internet, everyone can access and learn with and from. It's going to be for 9 to 1, Webs.
Yep. And keynote is the State Superintendent Joan Ebert. And then there are 3 rounds of sessions, and I think there's 4 speakers for each round of sessions. So it should be good. Q always puts on good stuff.
So it should be dope. As always, it's been fun. We'll see you on Thursday at 6-ish. Go and enjoy yourself this week. Cut down whatever your lesson plan was. Cut it in half and just say, look, yo, they know snap that piece just like Webb just showed you. They know snap it, cut it in half. Give kids more opportunities to have distractions, more opportunities to actually plug in and engage with the creative parts of what you want them to be able to do. And that's the flex for the week, man. That's the flex. All right, Webb's about to do what to do.
Do the thing.
All right, we will see you next week. God bless America. God also bless New Zealand. Stay masked
Happy
up.
birthday to Kirk Kleiner.
Holla, yeah, that is true. The homie Kirk, a friend of the show. We got to get him on the show at some point. A friend of the show.
We do.
Holla.